You're listening to the 3-Point Conversion.
All right, everybody, welcome into episode 9 of the 3-Point Conversion, coming at you on this Saturday, 3/21/2020. We're going to be talking about the AFC West today, but first, before we get into that stuff and before we get into the news, make sure you like, subscribe, follow, view all of our content. We're on Spotify, we're on Anchor, we've got our own website, we're on YouTube, Twitter. Find us wherever you can find us. We'll post the info and the video and the podcast wherever you're listening. So, Jeremy, if you go ahead and get us started with some of the wild news that's going on.
Here's what's happening around the league. Time for news.
I sure will. So, I think the biggest news we got going right now is Todd Gurley, who got released by the Rams, has went to Queasy's Falcons on a one-year deal.
Rise up.
Rise up. That's kind of like a combo. He's coming back to Georgia. That's Andrew's stomping ground for college.
Yeah.
So
he went to Alabama.
There. Did he go to Alabama?
You guys making me twitch. Stop it.
No, but that's a great pickup for him. And they did get his somewhat fellow teammate Fowler. They also picked him up too on the defensive end. So both of those are great pickups for Atlanta. So hopefully that'll push us along next year.
It looks like everybody's just going to be able to eat off of the Rams' table scraps for the next year or so. They spent so much money these past couple of seasons. They just got to start cutting people left and right.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it kind of feeds into that conversation about that running back, what we were talking in this last episode about running backs getting these big contracts.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't really work out. Look at Gurley. He got signed that huge contract, and then you see what happened. He got cut. He got released. Yeah. So it's not because he's not talented. They just couldn't pay him, and they weren't using him correctly. So hopefully Atlanta does, and that division's gotten crazy.
Exactly. And they got him on a one-year deal, so it's a, it could be a win-win all around. Of course, he can show out, and then they can get a friend or get another contract, a franchise tag, or something like that. So it doesn't hurt Atlanta at all too much if he doesn't work out too well.
It's true. Yeah, I like Atlanta a lot this year now because of that one player.
I do too.
Sounds like a good deal for really everybody involved, I think.
No doubt. All right, and speaking of Rams, they also put their wide receiver Brandon Cooks on the trading block. So anybody that's wanting a wide receiver in the league, I don't know what they're going to trade for him. He was pretty good in fantasy a couple seasons when he was with the Saints. The Broncos have acquired Melvin. Nothing?
Yeah.
Melvin
Gordon to the Broncos.
I'm
not super crazy about it. I don't really think they needed him. I don't know. I'll get to it later. I'm covering the Broncos today actually, but really all the information. This is very fresh news, and all the information we have on it right now is really just my opinion. So
yeah.
I got you.
We'll see.
You also had tight end Eric Ebron. He is now with the black and yellow with the Steelers. That's a pretty good move for them. Actually, I saw a Big Ben video just a couple of minutes ago of him talking about the coronavirus and activities you could do with your family while you're quarantined. He looks fat. He's got a huge beard. I kind of talked about it in a different video, but he looks like he's just been eating pizzas and sitting on the couch. He looks like what I've been doing.
He looks like Will Ferrell. I'm serious. Will Ferrell with a beard.
Yeah, he does. The only other thing that I had is Robbie Anderson has been rumored to go to the Raiders. I know that they were wanting him. I don't think they wanted him at the price tag, but they're saying now that these free agent wide receivers aren't really getting much attention for what kind of contracts they're looking for. I think they're starting to get him to lower his expectation a little bit and might get him there.
Okay. Yeah, I should be getting doing the Raiders later on today, but I didn't see that information just yet.
Yeah, I just saw it just like 20 minutes ago, and it's straight rumor, so I don't think there's any substance to it.
And as far as Ebron is a good tight end. I mean, but I know he's getting up in age right now, but he's always had very good hands and a good red zone tight end.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think he'll be a good fit for the Steelers. They really need, that guy at tight end. They've been struggling for a little while. So,
no doubt. The only other thing is just the big questions of the guys that are still available, and like the biggest one's probably Jadeveon Clowney, and then of course you got your Cam Newton, your Jameis Winston, a couple quarterbacks, big time there. So, wonder where they's gonna go.
And let me just say this real quick, as far as the Robbie Anderson situations go. Once you had your guys, your really big wide receivers, your blockbuster wide receivers, get their deals and get traded. You had your Amari Cooper get signed by the Cowboys. You had DeAndre Hopkins get traded from the Texans to the Cardinals. You had Stephon Diggs in that huge trade to the Bills from the Vikings. And I mean, like, really all your real big guys are off the board, and everybody that's left, they're pretty much going to have to take crap contracts. I mean, a lot of the guys that are left, they're just not that tier.
No.
Robbie Anderson's kind of like, he's really talented, and he's always, he's on the Jets. I mean, he's always fantasy relevant to a certain degree. He's always like not supposed to have a good game. And then, hey, he had like 2 touchdowns, and not like he's your top, like you were saying, not your top echelon guy, but he is a dude that does perform pretty well. So if you ever needed him in a pinch of fantasy, he's pretty good. I would like to see him on the Raiders. Anyway, that's all I have for news, unless you guys have anything else to add. It was just a little quick news segment.
No, man, I think in that last episode we really hit a lot of the big stuff that was going on. Is there any more information about Brady to the Buccaneers? I mean, I know it was confirmed by everybody. Everybody said it was a done deal, but has paperwork been signed yet or anything? I haven't seen anything about that.
Nope.
No.
Yeah, the last thing I heard about it, they were looking at contract language. So I don't know whatever Brady's wanting in there specifically. Maybe like more guaranteed money up front or something. I have no idea.
I want to say I heard that he had 2 years worth somewhere around like $50 million. But again, that's not confirmed. And it's just rumored, I guess.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll just keep up to date on it best we can. Jeremy, you checking?
I am. It says he officially signed.
No.
I don't know how
long ago was that?
This.
What does it say?
It was 10 hours ago.
Okay.
Yep, you're right, Quizzy. It was a 2-year deal worth $50 million,
Okay.
all guaranteed. It includes another $9 million in incentives, $4.5 million incentive per year. The contract prohibits tags and trades. So, $50 million, all guaranteed for 2 years. It's a pretty good contract.
Yeah. That'd be a heck of a dude to trade, though. I mean, that's I guess he's worried they're going to sign him, trade him off for this and that if they decide they want to stick with Jameis Winston or whatever. I don't know. I could see where his concern would lie there.
Sure. I know that he got exactly what he would want there. He got a whole ton of money. It's all guaranteed, which you don't see a whole lot with a lot of contracts, and it's 2 years. So that basically says Buccaneers, you got 2 years with Brady to get you a Super Bowl if you can, and that's it. I don't see him signing again.
He's going to get
kind of extend.
He's of course going to get the contract he wanted. He's like, the GOAT after all, and he's basically saying, "You guys want me to do you a favor? I'll come to your team."
Exactly.
And I have heard that the Antonio to Tampa is not going to happen. But we'll see.
Antonio, that's still up in the air. We'll see.
Yep. We can put bets on that.
I'm not going to count it out yet.
Who
I know
wants
Brady.
to bet?
Queasy was right, though. He hit the nail on the head. Brady went down there and immediately started pushing for it. He was like, "Hey, I like this dude." Queasy called that last episode.
He did.
Exactly.
Good job, Queasy.
It's not out. It's not done yet. What's going to happen?
Queasy's over there fortune telling.
I mean, I feel like Tom Brady gonna go down there, snap his fingers, and pretty much get whatever he wants. Like you said, they have 2 years with the guy. They're gonna give him what he wants and try to make this work and make a run.
Yeah.
They gave him what he wanted, $50 million guaranteed.
He probably ain't done wanting. Let's be honest.
Oh, he's done.
Yeah.
He'll want some offensive linemen once he gets sacked a few times.
As long as he don't move like you know what? Never mind. I'm not gonna say the name.
That might be smart. All right, we're gonna jump into it. Let's jump into it, Queasy. You got to starting out with them Super Bowl winning Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh wait, guys, we didn't take our shot.
Oh, come on! I know what's going on here.
And I think we should dedicate this one to the Super Bowl Champion Chiefs.
Oh, we should. It was a long time coming. Time coming.
You still got something in that bottle?
Ah, so that's what your bet is.
No.
I'm trying to find out. I've got about a half shot in there.
All right, Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Andy Reid, Tyrann Mathieu, all you Chiefs.
He's gonna go through the whole roster.
No, dog. We ain't got time for
kicker.
the kicker, punter.
You go ready? Play the music, man.
Ooh. Ooh. All right. Let's talk about the Super Bowl champs. Kansas City Chiefs out of Missouri. Kansas City, Missouri, not anywhere else. Kansas City, Missouri. They haven't won since 1970, like you said, it was a long time ago. 1970. That's the last time they won anything. This is to the team of Andrew Sherling, which is our Twitter follower, a great fan of theirs, our podcast follower. We appreciate him and his team. And I know he loves his quarterback, Patrick Mahomes.
Yes, he does.
Exactly. But I will get more into him later on. The head coach, Andy Reid, is a great coach. Been around the league for a long time. Finally got his dues, winning that Super Bowl champion. Offensive coordinator, Eric Bieniemy, great guy. High-powered offense, one of the top offensive last year. Probably could have been a head coach anywhere in the league this year, coming up or whatever, but he's definitely on his way to do some things too. Defensive coordinator, Steve Spagnuolo, they have one of the top defenses also too. So all around great team. Definitely have a winning formula. Have an opportunity now to capitalize on a lot of things. Great contracts, and especially to jump on that now while they do have that Patrick Mahomes on a rookie contract still. Last year they were undefeated in the AFC West, so they went through all those teams, wiped through all of them with no problems in their division, which makes them now 27-3 since 2015 against those teams, which means they're just like completely dominating. One kind of thing I can't say, they don't have any cap space, but again, they have good contracts. I don't think it's a bad situation that they don't have any cap space. I think it's just right there where they need to be right now. They do have a 32nd pick in the first round. I think you mentioned they was going to get a running back, but what I saw, they was going to get a wide receiver out of Arizona State, a Brandon Ayuk, Aiyuk, out of Arizona State. I think he'll be a good addition to them too. Fantasy-wise, they have 3 guys who are just touchdown machines. Of course, Tyreek Hill, Kelsey, and of course Patrick Mahomes. Of course, Tyreek Hill's a speedster, good hands. Kelsey, first down or either touchdown whenever he touches the ball, pretty much all automatic. And a sleeper pick actually for me is Damian Williams. He actually had a great Super Bowl. Came on strong at the end of last year, and very good around the red zone. And of course, the number one pick you gotta have, number one, number two pick you gotta have coming off the board during fantasy. It's Patrick Mahomes. He's whether it's passing, using his legs, this guy's automatic points for you on during fantasy. He's going to be great. A fantastic player, young player, seems very humble. Seems willing to learn. He hasn't. I don't think he spoke about his contract at all. So he's not a distraction at all in the locker room. So besides fantasy, just all around good dude. And I can see more in his future. Definitely coming in. Shown to be a winner. Great arm. Like I said, great legs, of course. Definitely going to be the highest paid quarterback whenever his contract does come up. I can imagine how much that's going to be, but he will change the market. And he's definitely like one circle button away from a touchdown every time he touches the ball. I think that team will finish up at 12-4, and I can definitely see them in the Super Bowl playing against my Atlanta Falcons at the end of next year.
You gonna call that?
I'm calling that. I'm calling that.
Queasy, I applaud you for your bravery.
Falcons cheat.
I said it.
Let me write that down somewhere.
I said it. Okay, that's my early pick. Maybe I'm a little biased. I don't know. But the moves my team are making, I don't want to change the subject on my team, but
but I will for a minute.
The moves my team is making with Gurley and Fowler, if those two pan out as well as I think they will pan out, it'll be a great chance of them playing in the Super Bowl against these Kansas City Chiefs. Again, they're a great team. Again, all around strong from top to bottom. Again, from the ownership, coaching, the players all seem humble. Nobody's trying to be greedy. It's not like Kelsey wants more passes or catches than Hill. They're all, in a sense, as we would say, playing their role very well and getting their money and winning Super Bowls. And I can see many more in their future. At least many more times appearing in the Super Bowl. They're not going to win the championship next year, but they will be there. They will be there.
You're wild, dog. You wild. So, what are you gonna call their record next season? What do you think it's gonna be?
A 12-4.
12-4. Okay.
Yeah, I think there will be. 12-4. I mean, they're gonna dominate through their AFC West again, of course. I think they just stumbled. They came out the gate stumbling a little bit last year, but once they got hot, there was no stopping them. I think they're going to come out with extreme confidence next year, so it's just going to be on a roll.
Mm-hmm.
All right, man. Well, the only thing I have to make, I have a question, I guess, for you guys. So we're sitting in our room. We always do our fantasy draft live, by the way, until Jeremy doesn't show up because he's measuring stuff. I don't know. It was weird.
Still won.
Yeah. Okay, so we're doing our fantasy draft. We're in the room. We're chilling out. We're all drinking, having a good time, whatever. You're in the, we'll say you're in the fourth round, the start of the fourth round. You've got the first pick, and you realize that not a quarterback has been taken off the board yet. Do you take a quarterback here? And if you do take a quarterback, do you take Lamar Jackson or Patrick Mahomes?
First of all, it wouldn't go 4 rounds without a quarterback, I don't think.
Well, let's say
that
people actually know what they're doing and wait to take a quarterback. Which one of these guys are you taking first?
I am taking Patrick Mahomes.
Patrick Mahomes.
Yes. Lamar Jackson's been great, but I think Patrick Mahomes has been more consistent. I don't want to say he's more durable. Both of them lasted for, they've been very well. But, Lamar Jackson has shown hiccups. And I know it's been mainly during the playoffs, but I think those playoffs are going to start leaking into the season if he doesn't change things up. So, in other words, they're going to start getting his number if he doesn't start changing things up. Patrick Mahomes, they haven't figured him out just yet. I've seen this man coming back from deficits that people were turning off the TVs and leaving the stands, and he still came back and won the game. So I haven't seen Lamar Jackson do that just yet. I've seen him, of course, he's dynamic, he's great, but I haven't seen him seem to get to the same level as Patrick Mahomes just yet.
Queasy, you bring to mind that playoff game against the Texans. Actually, I think they were down 21 or 24-0, and
I mean,
they
came back.
swing.
I think they came back in the Super Bowl too, if I remember correctly too. I mean,
They did.
They were. I saw again. It was that high-powered offense. I haven't seen him throw many. He seems erratic, but it still doesn't seem to throw many interceptions also too. So it's fun to watch, and of course, if you're a fan of that team, you got to love it. No question about it.
He's got such a big arm, and he's still so accurate downfield. He can just drop that ball right in your hands without you even having to look over your shoulder. It's really wild.
Yeah.
But Jeremy, what do you think? Who are you taking?
Oh yeah, I would also take Mahomes, and almost citing exactly what Queasy said. You look at Lamar Jackson; he had the great season, and no doubt he's a great fantasy quarterback. I would say that he would be. They're probably 1 and 2. I don't think anybody's going to argue that. But Mahomes, even on his bad games, finds a way to win. But even in fantasy, he puts up his numbers. Lamar Jackson, just something about that playoff game where they lost to the Titans. He just looked so rattled. It's left a lasting impression on me, and I don't know. I'm a little worried about it, kind of. Not really for fantasy's sake, but I don't know. With Mahomes, you got the complete package. I mean, you got great receivers. No matter what happens, they're always in a football game. Even when they're playing badly, they're still good. They win. He can make plays with his feet. Like you said, he's got the big arm, and he makes crazy throws, no-look passes.
Yeah.
I mean, what else would you want from a starting quarterback? So to me, it's almost no contest. Lamar Jackson's amazing. I don't think you would be upset with having him. But to me, it's Mahomes, clear one.
Yeah.
Kermit the Frog.
Yeah, I actually agree with you guys. Not even necessarily because of that playoff game, because I've seen players go into the playoffs and the Super Bowl and have like a really good run when they've had a bad season, and that's all people remember going into the next draft, and they'll value these players higher than they really should be because they had a good playoff run. But so I'm going to use that same logic and apply it to Lamar Jackson's bad playoff game and say I'm not going to really roll that into next season. But a lot of people will have a bad taste in their mouth. So, I mean, I can see your logic there, but I'm looking at this and I'm like, okay, well, Patrick Mahomes was injured for what was it 4 or 6 games last season? He was out for a while, and he still had really good numbers. Like immediately, like as soon as he came back, he was still looking good. So if you give me a full season of a healthy Patrick Mahomes, yeah, I'd take him first overall as well.
Oh yeah,
exactly. You
It'd
can't
be
go wrong with
interesting. No, it'd be interesting to see if Lamar Jackson fell a little bit, but I just don't see it happening.
I don't either.
I mean, if you got him as the third quarterback or fourth quarterback somehow, first of all, somebody's overvaluing somebody. I don't know who they're overvaluing, but they are.
Somebody's
it would
sleeping.
be great for your team. A lot of people are sleeping.
Gotcha.
They're not going to last even to round 4 on most. Unless, like you said, if you got a whole bunch of professionals and they just all agree on the exact same format of how they're going to go about their team, running back, wide receiver, tight end, wide receiver, running back, whatever. Yeah, maybe then, but that's not how it goes. There's always some wild card in there. They got some kind of crazy strategy. They're taking kickers 3rd round, whatever.
Make a run on Alabama, Greg. Two Alabama, Greg. Got 3 of them before like the 15th round.
And I'm the best kickers in the league.
Okay, but sorry guys, that's all I got on the Chiefs.
Jeremy, you got anything for me, bro?
Not a whole lot. I mean, there's not a whole lot to say negative about the Chiefs, obviously, and you just kind of have to praise them for what they've done and where they're at. And like you said, they're just going to run through the AFC again. I don't see many people, if anybody, really beating them. I think even in their losses, they were real close games. I don't think anybody beat the brakes off of them or anything. So until they start losing some of these guys, because they're eventually not going to be able to keep everybody, they'll still be up at the top.
Yeah,
and I can't wait to see it.
There is one X factor but I will probably deal with that later on today. During this podcast, I would say.
Oh, snap. Andrew, check your phone, dude. Come on, man.
No. During the whole podcast.
All right.
All right, dog.
All right, so we're done with the Chiefs.
Hold up. It's fans. I apologize.
We got a bet. We got a bet going on Queasy.
There's a bet going on in which I'm involved. I don't know what I need to say or not say, but it's not going to happen. Okay?
It's getting pretty bad when we're all like second guessing, like, oh, hang on, this a bet here, right? This a bet. And they're like, no, hey, it's not, please. We didn't clearly set these guidelines. All right, so
for the sake of time, we're going to move on to second in the AFC West, and far behind the Kansas City Chiefs were the Denver Broncos. I can't believe they finished second. They were 7-9 in the AFC West. Their head coach is Vic Fangio, a defensive-minded head coach entering his second season with the franchise. And this whole coaching staff they got here is kind of weird to me. You know, you see the league turn into a lot of the younger guys, and whenever they're hiring newer head coaches, or when they're filling positions, they're looking for younger guys. Really, is what I'm trying to say. And you're seeing it as a trend or a fad around the league, and it seems to be working for a lot of teams. But that is not what the GM John Elway decided to do with his Denver Broncos. So we got old Vic Fangio, old Pat Shermer, I'm sorry, as offense.
Shermer.
As offensive coordinator. He's the former Giants head coach.
Yep.
And he was quoted the other day as saying the Broncos offense will attack downfield. So I'm interested to see how he does that with the pieces he has. But we'll get to that in a minute, I guess. Defensive coordinator is Ed Donatel. He's in his second season as Broncos defensive coordinator. Came in with Vic Fangio. Should be noted that he headed the Bears secondary in 2018, which was by far the best secondary in the league that season. So, I'm going to say he knows what he's doing. But from what I'm looking at from this coaching roster, this is going to be a very defensive-minded team, and they're going to be throwing everything they got at you to stop you. I'm not looking for a whole lot of firepower despite what they're actually saying. We'll see. Points for last season was 282, which was 28th in the league. Garbage. Points against was 10th. And they had very good ball security on the ground, but they played it way too safe in their offense. They were 32nd in passing touchdowns, 22nd in rushing touchdowns with 11 rushing touchdowns. Oof. Their offense was just very weak, and they were 30th overall in the league on third down. I mean, they're just real bad guys. But their defense was okay. They weren't terrible. They were number one in red zone scoring percentage. They would stop you if you got in the red zone. They're gonna let you run up and down the field on them, but you get in that box, you're done. I guess unless you're Patrick Mahomes.
There you go.
They were number 5 in touchdowns allowed, rushing and passing. Bright spots on their defense were Todd Davis with 134 tackles and safety Justin Simmons with 4 interceptions. Von Miller's only impressive stat, unfortunately, was just 20 quarterback hits. He just really wasn't there this season. Even last season, he was kind of falling off a little bit. But it should be noted that they just recently cut Joe Flacco. I believe that was today or yesterday. That's kind of like a huge deal. Yeah.
Bye, Flacco.
Bye, Flacco.
He was so good, though.
Yo, and me and Jeremy were talking the season before. I was like, "Did you see the Ravens? They got rid of Flacco. He's on to Denver." He was like, "He'll be all right. Don't worry, he'll be all right."
No
I'm
way.
Like, no, he won't. No, he won't. You said, "I think he'll be okay." Y'all, he's cut. He's done.
He could have been okay.
He could have.
No,
but he's
guess.
Joe Flacco. Not all Super Bowl MVPs are MVPs.
I was about to say Joe Flacco's got a Super Bowl. I think it kind of goes back to what you said earlier. Sometimes a quarterback can have that real good run right there and really not be a great quarterback. That's happened a lot in history. Go do your homework.
Yep. But anyway, so their starting quarterback is Drew Lock, who only played 5 games last season, and I'm assuming he's going to be their starting quarterback going into this next season. But out of those 5 games, he was actually 4-1, which I guess a lot of people don't realize. I didn't realize until I really looked at it. Like Gardner Minshew, the team kind of gained a certain spark as he began playing. A lot of people really like Drew Lock. He had 7 touchdowns in those 5 games versus Joe Flacco's 6 touchdowns in 8 games.
What are you trying to say?
I threw a little bit of comparison in here to this player who got cut, so I'm trying to justify them keeping him, I guess. Only took 5 sacks to Joe Flacco's 26. I mean, he's obviously a lot more mobile than Flacco. I'm not going to say he's a dual threat guy or anything, but he's mobile in the pocket.
Yeah, he can move around.
He had 1 fourth quarter comeback and 2 game-winning drives out of those 5 games. So, I mean, he's not bad. I don't really have a whole lot of numbers on him. Nothing that within, like everything I say, I have to remind you, it's just 5 games. It's just 5 games. So there are not really any impressive stats in here or anything. He's, I'm going to call him average for an NFL quarterback, but I want to see a full season worth of stats before I can really start to break this guy down. So I just told you a couple of the things that really stuck out. I really like to go more in depth in my quarterbacks than this, but it's what we got. As far as running backs go, they just today signed running back Melvin Gordon to the team, which really confuses me, but whatever, man. They got Phillip Lindsay. I really liked Phillip Lindsay. Phillip Lindsay is a very good running back. Last season, he had 224 attempts for 1,011 yards and 7 touchdowns. He had 48 targets, 35 receptions, and 196 receiving yards. And he was kind of splitting snaps, kind of not really. It was like Lindsey was a first and second down guy. Royce Freeman was almost like their third down back, or, he's a bigger guy. You think they would have put him in at goal line situations, but that wasn't necessarily the case. He had 132 attempts for 496 yards and 3 touchdowns, which for the number of attempts, those are really good numbers. He had 43 receptions for 256 yards and 1 touchdown, and he only missed 7 passes. So he's got pretty good hands for a bigger running back. I honestly think he could be a starter somewhere, and I'm surprised he's not here. But both of these running backs I feel like are really good, and they're both very young. These guys were only in their second season. They were drafted. Well, actually, Phillip Lindsay went undrafted. But they came to the Denver Broncos in the same year, 2018, I believe. So I don't understand the Melvin Gordon pickup. But, here we are. I'm sure you guys got something to add at the end, maybe. You can enlighten me a little bit. I'm just...
Maybe it's going to be like a reverse thing where they're going to switch him to the quarterback. You know how they always switching guys from other positions. So they're going to put Melvin Gordon down since he ran like a 4.2 or something. Going to put him in.
Hold on. I got you. Phillip Lindsay has hair like Patrick Mahomes. Phillip Lindsay is going to be the quarterback.
You heard
We
it
got
here
it.
first.
We got it.
Wow.
Hey, y'all watch out for that.
That happened.
As far as wide receivers go, the only guy I really feel like I need to talk about is Cortland Sutton.
Yeah.
Because old Manny Sanders went to the 49ers, as we've already discussed. But he had 100. Yeah, right. He had what was it he was saying whenever he got traded? He was talking about I'm tired of catching passes from this guy. He's awful. Talking about Joe Flacco.
So get me away from this guy.
I remember there was a big stink about it.
I didn't hear that, man.
But yeah, Cortland Sutton, he's pretty good. He had 124 targets, 72 receptions. It seems like a lot of drops there, but he had 1,112 yards and 6 touchdowns. He has the potential to be a number 1 on this team. And I think given the chance with Drew Lock, who I feel like is a little bit better of a quarterback than Joe Flacco, maybe with Drew Lock at the helm, he can take that next step. But we'll see. Tight end, Noah Fant, he had 66 targets, 40 receptions for 562 yards and 3 touchdowns. Meh. There just aren't any good tight ends left. Except Kelsey, of course. And we're just going to keep talking about the Chiefs this whole podcast. This whole episode.
That's because they're the one good team in the division.
Their free agency moves. Whenever I did my research and wrote all this down, which right now the free agency market is an ever evolving, fluctuating thing. So currently, the guys that they've picked up, they traded for AJ Bouye from Jacksonville, defensive lineman Jarrell Casey, quarterback Jeff Driscoll. They picked him up, and of course I already spoke about Melvin Gordon. And then offensive lineman Graham Glasgow from Detroit. He was with Detroit, wasn't he?
Was he?
I'm sure he was with Detroit. But anyway, they've made some good pickups. They're God, man, these Broncos.
They're trying, man. They're trying.
I mean, he's always been known to pick great quarterbacks, so he'll be all right.
Yeah.
John
Let it
Elway.
continue.
John Elway can't pick a quarterback. Come on.
I think it goes to show you that just because you're a talented quarterback in this case doesn't mean that you can go find talented quarterbacks and make it work.
You think if anybody could evaluate quarterback talent,
I know, yes. It's
John Elway, much respect, dude. Come on.
I mean, it kind of goes really to defend him. Like, all those quarterbacks are extremely talented. Maybe just not that, that next little level that he really wants.
I like Drew Lock. We got to give him a season. I can't say anything about Drew Lock. We got to give him a season.
So, I apologize. Are you finished with your session? Because I got a question.
No, but go ahead. Go ahead with your question. Let's break it up. I get frustrated when I'm talking about these Broncos. There's so much, yet there's nothing.
Do you think they might go after one of the free agents, or there's a couple wide receivers that are still out there? You think they might go after one of those guys?
I had them looking at AJ Green before he got tagged. I had them looking at Amari Cooper before he got signed. So I mean,
how about a free agent quarterback though?
Oh, quarterback. I thought you were talking about wide receiver.
Nah.
Who are you gonna bring in? Jameis Winston, Cam Newton. You think Cam Newton wants to come play for the Denver Broncos? They've only got $38 million in cap space, and that was actually before they made some of these moves. So they can't afford him.
Queasy, look here. Look at me. Drink it up, man. Go ahead. Drink it up, bud. Come on.
Let's hear
it.
Yeah, come on, Queasy. What was up, bad Queasy? You want me to tell him?
Tell him? Go ahead. Hey, go ahead and tell him. It's like
you take your sippy sip juice out of your small glass, and I'm gonna talk about it. So me and Queasy had a bet. Obviously, it was that Andrew would have Cam Newton going to the Broncos. That's what it was. He had to ask you straight up. I was actually looking over here like, maybe I'll ask this question. I was like, I can't ask that. I've lost a bet that way before.
You let Queasy dig his own grave with that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, they can't afford him. And honestly, I had Cam going to Chicago, but they took the Nick Foles burden. So maybe that's something else we should have brought up in news. But
Nick Foles has been a cancer everywhere he's went, except for the Eagles.
But to jump way off, I guess, with Nick Foles, I did hear that coach was from the Eagles or something like that. So it's getting back to familiar things. So I think that's one of the reasons why they got Nick Foles.
One of their coordinators, maybe.
Yeah, coordinators, head coach, somewhere around there. Yeah.
Well, I know Matt Nagy was with the Chiefs. God, we going back to the Chiefs again. He was with the Chiefs before he went to the Bears, but
okay.
Moving on. What?
Well, since we're backtracking a little bit and we're talking about the Chiefs, I did forget to say something. How is Eric Bieniemy not a head coach somewhere else? It's been several seasons. This past season, like, for real, there was, 5 open head coaching spots, and, one of them gave him an interview. Like, what are y'all doing? Let him go somewhere. Let him do something, man.
He had, but you got to remember, they got the one coach that was a special teams coach. You gotta pick him.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
it was the Giants.
Is he from New England?
Jeez.
He was with New England. Yeah.
And fans, I apologize. You will get my sarcasm very soon.
Okay. Draft picks, they have the 15th overall pick in the first round, and I have them looking at Henry Ruggs out of Alabama because, as we were talking about a minute ago, they need some receiving talent. I like Cortland Sutton, but they got to have more than just Cortland Sutton. He can't handle double teams all the time, and if they're wanting to throw the ball downfield and they're really wanting to stick with that, which I have my doubts, they are going to draft a wide receiver here. Otherwise, I mean, I don't know, throw your philosophy out the window because your offense is not that great. With their second pick, number 14 in the second round, I have them looking at Ross Blacklock, a defensive tackle out of TCU. This guy had 40 tackles last season and 2.5 sacks. So I'm looking at him as like a Khalil Mack type guy, maybe. He can bust up that, except, I mean, of course, not on the edge, but as far as wreaking havoc goes in the center of the line there, he's going to be that guy that wreaks that havoc. He's going to free up tackling opportunities for the rest of the defense, and I think he'd be a pretty good fit there. Their defense is pretty good, and I look for them to improve actually a little bit this next season. Maybe not good enough to stop the Chiefs, but they'll improve.
Not even close.
There's not much on this team as far as fantasy value goes. Drew Lock and Phillip Lindsay, I think, could be good late round pickups. Well, I also wrote that before they picked up Melvin Gordon. So I think Melvin Gordon's going to be taken really high, and that will bother me a little bit. I'm not going to touch him as high as he may actually go because Phillip Lindsay and Royce Freeman are such good running backs. I think they're going to steal carries from him. But, we'll see. I like the value of Cortland Sutton. If they do take another receiver, somebody take a little bit of attention away from him. But he may be overhyped as well. I wouldn't reach for him for sure. Royce Freeman, Noah Fant would be good for you if you're in a tight spot in the last round and you realize you're lacking somewhere at a certain position. As far as IDP goes, defensive end Bradley Chubb, safety Justin Simmons, who they franchise tagged, and linebacker Todd Davis. I have their 2020 record at 9-7, a little bit better than this last season, but nothing great.
Yeah, maybe a little more stable.
Maybe a little.
Yeah, maybe.
I didn't like the Vic Fangio hire. I'm not a fan, but that was a dad joke. I'm sorry, guys.
Oh my god.
But I'm not a fan, but I think they'll stabilize, but I don't think they're going to be good. And I don't think they can reach that next level with Vic Fangio as head coach, or possibly, I even hate to say this, with John Elway as GM. He doesn't seem to be making very good decisions.
Yeah, I heard even last year with the Flacco move that they weren't happy with the way things were going, the front office, ownership most notably. So I don't think you'll see, unless they have a really good season or a really good draft with good future, and then a couple seasons, and they'd see. But it looks like there's grumbles from what I've heard.
You guys got anything else to add on the Broncos?
Yeah. No. Go ahead.
I got some stuff. Yeah. The Melvin Gordon. I think one thing you could look at, he could be a sneaky for fantasy, a sneaky pick. Only because I'm a big advocate of these running backs that have something to prove. You could look at like Adrian Peterson, how many times people said he was done, and the list could go on and on. But him going to them and signing a 2-year deal or $16 million, 13.5 guaranteed. He could go there with something to prove, a little chip on his shoulder, and he could go back to the way he was back before. I think the chances aren't very likely, but that's why he would be a sneaky pick. And you're right, his ADP is probably higher than what it should be because of his name and his past, but it's still something to look for. If he slips, and he's like your fourth running back, why wouldn't you take him?
Oh, absolutely, but he's not gonna slip that far. If you're let's say you're in the, we're gonna go back to the fourth round. You're in the fourth round. You're in the middle of the fourth round, and it's your pick. You've got one running back, and you see Melvin Gordon still on the board. Are you taking him for your RB2 in fourth round?
Depends. If I'm in the fourth round and I don't have two running backs, then I've messed up somewhere, and I'm probably gonna have to take him.
I don't know, man. Some people like wide receivers. Looking at you, Queez.
I like wide receivers, man.
Hey, Sometimes you have to take receivers, man. Like if you're late in the round and people are taking all the good ones, all the good running backs, what are you gonna do? Continue to ride off the coattails and get whatever's left over? You're gonna have to take a different direction. Anyway, another thing I had was a question, just a straight up question. With the addition of Jarrell Casey, do you think that will help Von Miller improve back to his championship self?
I don't think so.
No?
I think we're past the Von Miller championship self phase. I think you're going to start looking at some of these other guys, like I was talking about Bradley Chubb, linebacker Todd Davis. Some of these other guys are really going to start stepping up and start filling that role, and he's going to pass the torch.
Hey, Bradley Chubb's really good.
He's very good.
But that might also
he's very underrated.
help. Yeah, he is. And then just one last thing, just for the fun of it, if you want to hear all the starting quarterbacks for the Broncos the past several years, you ready?
Oh yeah, let's do it.
Let's start with Jay Cutler from 2006 to 2008, and I won't read the years. I'll just continue from there. Okay, so Jay Cutler, Kyle Orton, Tim Tebow, Chris Sims, Peyton Manning, Super Bowl. Take that. Brock Osweiler with that huge contract they gave him, which was not good. Trevor Siemian, Paxton Lynch, Case Keenum, Joe Flacco, Drew Lock. That's it.
Wow.
So Case Keenum was not bad. He wasn't bad. And, of course, when Manning was there, he was definitely at the end of his career. And if you were to say it wasn't because of him, you'd be absolutely right. The defense was what won them that championship, but he did just enough on offense to tear people apart like he was so good at. And the defense won. So I kind of feel like that's what they're trying to do now is build that defense up, way up, and try to have it, so that they can just be in games, try to claw their way into the division. Because now that you got the extra wild card team, I mean, I don't know, they might be able to slide in. Almost half the teams in the league get in now, so there's a chance.
With you saying that, Jeremy, at least my statement that if this season doesn't pan out, I guess even average for them, John Elway needs to bow out gracefully and just let it be. And let someone else get in there, and so he can always keep his name with the team and see if they can progress from there. Because obviously, right now his quarterback streak is not very good. Yeah.
I'm sorry, the worst one on there. I almost said Paxton Lynch, which he wasn't great either. But where are you, Brock Osweiler? You talk about a dude that had so much hype off of like 3 games. And they paid him something astronomical. That's how the league gets so quarterback starved at times. And you could definitely tell at that point that they were just – I don't even know where he is now. Do you know where he is now?
I'm sure
at home
on his couch.
Yeah.
He's probably somewhere. I don't know. Maybe not.
Yeah, riding on your statement there, Jeremy. Enter Nick Foles to the Jaguars.
Exactly.
Right?
That's what I mean.
There you go.
Yeah. No, so that happens a lot.
That did happen. Eagles sitting over here like, thanks for the Super Bowl. Bye.
Yeah, so he's not in the league anymore. And you know what? He's probably sitting somewhere living like a freaking fat cat off all that cash he made.
Listen to the 3-point conversion.
Exactly.
We appreciate you, Osweiler.
Okay. You're a much better quarterback than I'll ever be, so good for you.
Moving on, Jeremy. Or is it
It's not me. It's Queasy again with them Raiders.
The Raiders is an ugly team. I'm gonna be kind of short with this. Of course, John Gruden's their coach. Offensive coordinator is Greg Olson. Defensive coordinator is Paul Grutner. John Gruden, I'm not a big fan of him. Yeah, exactly. I'm not a big fan of him as a head coach. I do think he's a great commentator. I really do. I think he's a great commentator. I think he's a great quarterback coach. And, I've seen him do his quarterback shows, and they're great. But he hasn't shown me anything in particular to say he's a great coach just yet. Even when he won a championship, or did they win a championship with Tampa Bay or
Tampa Bay, yeah.
He won it with Tony Dungy's.
Exactly.
That's what everybody always
So,
says.
yeah. So it was never anything that he's physically, per se shown. But I'm not trying to knock him in the sense, but I am trying to knock him. So I don't think he deserves all the credentials that he gets. Let me say it like that.
No offense, but
Yeah, but
I'm not gonna say I don't like the guy, but let me list to you right now why I don't like this guy.
exactly. But let's go on with the Raiders. The Raiders ended up with 7-9 last year. They have not made the playoffs in 16 out of 17 years. Did y'all hear me?
yeah.
The Raiders have not made it in 16 out of 17 years. So you just like, it's one of those teams that's just destined to be bad. But they have a great fan base. At least it wasn't Oakland and LA, or they did have great fan base there. But they are moving to Las Vegas now. So it should be moving to there next season. I haven't heard anything about the building of it, so I don't know what the progression is.
Stadium's done and it is lit, dude.
Yeah, have you seen it? Okay, I need to see.
We'll see it when we go to Las Vegas next year.
Next year. Is that where they were having the draft? They were going to have the draft. Was it supposed to be there?
I think it was supposed to be in the lobby of a. It was supposed to be in the lobby of a hotel. I don't remember which hotel it was. But,
they're not doing that now.
Yeah, or casino, but it wasn't. It wasn't the stadium.
Probably.
It was one or the other.
Well, they had a crazy preseason, let's say, last year. Before the season even started, of course, they already had Antonio Brown, who forced his way out of Pittsburgh. They had Antonio Brown, which came with a lot of baggage. He had tons of issues throughout the preseason, whether it was dealing with his helmet, or there was a helmet, which was a helmet issue that
I forgot about that.
Yeah, all the NFL knew about for about 3 years prior. Yeah. Except for him.
I'm wearing my leather helmet.
He didn't want to wear the helmet. He wanted to wear an old helmet, which he couldn't wear anymore. So that was became a big issue. He also frostbit his feet. Remember that?
He didn't wear shoes into the cryo chamber or something.
Yeah.
The cryotherapy.
Yes.
Crap.
So he had that going on. So again, this is all during preseason. So these are times where he's supposed to be training with the team, getting more accustomed with the team, getting more accustomed with Carr. That he's going through these simple issues. And this is your top. And besides a number one wide receiver, this is your superstar, and that you paid millions of dollars to, and he's not even setting foot to even practice with you at all. He also he had off-field issues with some young ladies, which became pretty big. With I think at least 2 young ladies, that kept on going on and on. And then finally, he got into a huge issue with the GM, Mike Mayock. But he got calmed down by the peacemaker, Vontez Burfict. You see that pause there, right?
Oh, and don't forget about Richie Incognito.
Yeah,
the crazy lineman that's like,
hey, you guys need to chill out.
Dude, you need to slow your roll. Trust me, okay? You need to listen. I've been there.
How bad do you got to be when these 2 guys are coming to slow you down? So anyway, that's all before the beginning of the season. But this all led to him being released as far as Antonio Brown, which is, again, your superstar, not just a star, superstar that was supposed to be for your team. Got him being released before the season began and sent to the New England Patriots. But anyway, they had a roller coaster season. Their one bright spots were the tight end Darren Waller, and actually Derek Carr had a decent season. They had a better season than people assumed they would have, actually, after losing Antonio Brown. Also, of course, their bright spot was Josh Jacobs, rookie running back. He had over 1,100 yards, 7 touchdowns. The number 2, he could have easily been the number 1 for the rookie of the year, but Kyler Murray beat him out.
He got robbed. He got robbed.
But he could have easily been rookie of the year with no debate on that.
Yeah, he's good.
Their cap space, they got a ton of cap space. They already made some signings. Especially on the defensive side, they got Corey Lillington, Malik Collins, Eli Apple, which has been around the league a little bit. I think I spoke to him on one of the last podcasts. They did pick up I think it's a good pick. Marcus Mariota for a backup for Jason for Carr.
You mean they called him in for crying Carr? He's gonna take that spot.
I mean, I think that's a good pickup right there, Marcus Mariota. And to me, their top pickup. You see that pause?
Yeah.
Their top pickup is Jason Witten.
What was the result?
The conclusion is that you're ugly.
Shoot.
Drop the mic.
Yes.
Hey, quick. How old is Jason Witten?
57.
The top pickup, and as I spoke earlier in this podcast, I do think Jason Witten will be the X factor into taking down the Chiefs. Okay, so
You mean when he lays down on the field and gives them time to come up with a game plan, right?
I think when they play the Chiefs, he will end up with like 4 touchdowns easily by himself, with three catches and 1 passing.
He's going to throw all
himself.
the touchdowns to himself.
Yeah, to himself.
Did you see did you look up how old he was, bro?
He's 37.
Yeah. So in football language, that's like 86.
Yeah, he's up there. He's old man. He might be the oldest tight end in the league.
I don't know. Depends on if Delaney Walker comes back. How old is he? He got to be pretty old too.
Lenny Walker using a walker.
He's 30. He's 35.
But they do as far as draft wise, they got the number 12 pick. I thought they had a couple higher than that, but they got the number 12 pick. They should get a good wide receiver in CD Lamb and out of Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. They also have the number 19 pick. They might go up after a linebacker. His name is Patrick Green out of LSU. So those might be two great pickups for them. So they may make some progress next year. Fantasy wise, I think the one guarantee is Josh Jacobs. Of course, it depends on how well these, at least how CeeDee Lamb may turn out. But right now, we'll stick with Josh Jacobs as their top fantasy pickup for running back. Other than that, I think the sleeper,
Witten.
Jason Witten.
And you mean that in a literal sense of the word, right? They're literal sleeper. Hey guys, y'all head out there, have fun. I'm gonna take a nap in the locker room. Somebody got my special pillow?
I'm just saying.
It's a testament to that dude that he can still be playing at his age. He can still go out there with his walker, little tennis balls on the end, still making catches. Okay, went from announcer for a season to back to Dallas, and now he's on to the Raiders. Come on.
I'm just saying, there is some second string tight end out there at home, cussing at home to his wife right now, like, what have I got to do?
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, I think that team will end up at 6-10 next year. Yeah. I can't. I'm not. I don't believe in the hype just yet. And they go into Vegas, which is going to bring in a new fan base, but it's not going to be like the original, like with LA or with Oakland. I think they had a pure fan base there, and that helped bring wins to that team. But in Vegas, I can't see it much, and I say a 6-10 record, man.
Yeah, they're gonna have a lot of distractions. First off, going to Vegas, but then all that aside, I mean, who do they have? They've got a lot of like cast-offs, from a bunch of other teams. It's a ragtag team,
Yeah.
unless they have like the greatest draft ever, which they might. They could have one. I mean, that was like one of the reasons they brought Gruden there was because
Yeah.
he's such a good evaluator of talent, and like you said, the quarterback stuff. And they brought Mike Mayock into GM, and he was doing the same thing on those draft days. He was over there evaluating the talent as they would make the picks and who he thought was going where. So maybe together they can get back on that grind and actually bring a lot of talent there instead of shipping them all off like it seems like Gruden's been doing. But yeah, I don't see him doing very well either. I mean, no matter who, if it's Carr or Mariota, and I like Josh Jacobs a lot, and that's about it. I mean, like you said. So. Oh, one thing. So,
Yes.
you know how much they're paying Gruden? They signed that dude for 10 years, $100 million.
Wow.
So, I'm not a great mathematician. $10 million a year.
Well, if you carry the one, it's like a whole heap of money.
To not be making the playoffs still.
Yes, exactly.
So, yeah, that's all I've got. I really do hope that they get better and that they do something because I like Gruden. I like his personality. And like you said, I don't know.
I do.
I think he's a really good X's and O's coach, but something about players, I don't think that really meshes anymore with him. I don't think you would call him a players coach, even though I like him. I think he's got a great personality, but I don't. He trades away all his talent, and I don't know if they're going 10 years on a rebuild here.
He's very old school as well. I mean, a lot of players I don't think really like that.
Yeah, it's a lot of flash now.
All right.
Moving on, Jer
Moving
Bear,
on.
who you got?
Well, before I get started, Andrew, go ahead and take your shot because I just won that bet.
You didn't
And
do
then
it.
I will.
What bet was that?
We were waiting on you to say "and again."
And yet again.
That's your
And
favorite.
again?
It's your favorite phrase.
Is it?
Hey guys, I'm out of
You
liquor
say
again.
it every once in a while.
I'm doing a beer
I have
shot.
faith in you. You're an alcoholic. A beer shot. What? I'll
Sorry.
take the actual shot. This is actually liquor.
I'm out again. Now we're on quarantine. What am I gonna do?
You need reserves. Okay. Yeah, so I'll take over from the Raiders. And I had the ever so powerful Los Angeles Chargers. So you listen to the issues with the Broncos and the Raiders, and there were a ton, and especially all the off-season, preseason stuff with the Raiders. All of that, I mean, that's a headache. And they lost, like you said, their big-time receiver, Antonio Brown, and they still managed to freaking put up 2 more wins than the Chargers, who finished 5-11 with my favorite quarterback, Phillip Rivers. I don't need to bash him too much. I've done it almost in every podcast. But he was great. He put up a ton of numbers there. 5-11. That was the best numbers. 5 wins, 11 losses.
Is that me? Are you sure? I don't know. That was like real borderline.
Okay, so I hate Phillip Rivers, and especially his throwing motion.
Damn.
He throws sidearm with his body. Okay. Is that what you wanted me to say?
That's you, Queasy.
Pretty bad. I didn't know which way it was going to go.
That's me.
Ah.
Queasy said
Hey,
you were gonna say you hated Phillip Rivers. Oh,
Hey.
I do.
I'm taking a shot with you, bro.
And that was real confusing. Your opening statement. I'm not gonna bash him anymore, and I'm like, he likes him.
I just don't want to bash him so much because I've done it like Great podcast almost.
I'm all out, guys, so I'm just gonna kill this real quick.
You have to do it anyway, Queasy, because he has no more liquor. Because
I know. I'm just following him up, man. It's all good, bro.
Somebody's got to do it.
I'm sorry, Jeremy. Continue. We're gonna drink.
You're good, man. All right. So the head coach is Anthony Lynn. He's 26-23 as a head coaching record. He's been to the postseason twice. He's 1-1 in the playoffs, I should say. So 500 there, not too bad, but not great. He needs to get there a lot more, and he ain't doing it now. Offensive coordinator Shane Steichen, if I said that right, Steichen. Defensive coordinator was Gus Bradley. It looks, I'll just go right into their issues, which there's several, which you would imagine with a 5-11 team. It seems like a lot of the stuff I've been reading and researching is that they've lost the locker room. Which would explain a lot. You know, they looked really bad last year. They earned their 5-11 record. There were times when they were out there that they looked disorganized. They had a lot of dumb penalties, which cites lack of discipline all over the place, which is going right back to coaching. Phillip Rivers did not live up to his name. I mean, they loved him there, and he definitely underperformed. I mean, they've got good receivers there. So there really wasn't a ton of excuse. He had a lot of bad throws. You know, you could tell his throwing arm, his throwing strength was way down. Good luck, Colts. They had players like legit not going to meetings, like mandatory meetings, which is another thing right to coaching. Like that's just you can't win with that kind of thing going on. It's not a team mentality. That's really bad. They had a few injuries, a ton of turnovers. And that's just a vague sprinkle, not to go too into of what happened with the Chargers. They have had a lot of moves this offseason. They tagged Hunter Henry, which can be a top 5 borderline tight end in fantasy. He's when healthy, he's very good. And I'm assuming in the draft they're going to take a quarterback. I'll get to that in a minute. So they're going to want him there for a young quarterback as an emergency outlet. They extended Austin Eckler after they let Melvin Gordon go. They signed him a 4-year, $24.5 million, which is not a bad contract for him. I like him a lot. You know, he can catch out of the backfield. He's quick. He can run really well. He'll find the hole. They traded for Trey Turner, a guard, to shore up their offensive line. They also signed tackle Brian Balaga, which was a big deal. So hopefully they can keep that rookie upright. They signed, helped their defense out with Linval Joseph, big-time defensive tackle.
From Minnesota, dude's good.
Minnesota, yeah, he's real good. He's probably top 3, honestly.
Yes.
He has been. He's like a perennial top 5 at least defensive tackle. They also got Chris Harris at cornerback. So they've made a couple of really good moves in the offseason to at least get them going in the right direction. You know, and in that direction, you want to at least get some wins in the division, which they failed to do. Yeah, that's right. They lost every game inside of their division. So 2 games to the Chiefs, which is understandable, 2 to the Broncos, and 2 to the Raiders. That's a tough pill to swallow right there. So it's real tough. A couple of free agents of note, I think that they still have. I haven't seen any news on was their wide receiver Travis Benjamin. Derek Watt, the fullback, actually, he went to the Steelers to be with his brother T.J. Watt. That's pretty cool. Of course, Melvin Gordon got released, and now where'd he go? The Broncos.
Broncos.
So what they really need there, what they need to target in the draft is, in order, is quarterback, offensive line. I had cornerback until they signed Chris Harris, so they kind of addressed that. So they still need help at corner, but it might go down the list a little bit. They do need some running back help because Eckler, although he is very good and I do like him, they don't really have a whole lot behind him. So I don't know if he would really want to be your workhorse guy, or if he got injured, you definitely don't want to be left without a good backup. Wide receiver, linebacker, interior defensive lineman, and a tight end, because Hunter Henry can go down at any minute. Yeah. They have the 6th overall pick. So What they can do there, I've got them, if they stay there, if they don't trade up, I've got them having Jordan Love, the quarterback out of Utah State. I think they actually will trade up to pick 4, and they'll take Justin Herbert. I think they really like Justin Herbert. He's got that big arm that they want, what they missed out with Rivers in his latter years, and I think he'll fit in really well with those receivers. Round 2, they have pick 37. I got them taking a running back. I got Clyde Edward-Helaire out of LSU, or if he's gone, just the best available running back, unless they, for some reason, all go before then, which is extremely doubtful. Then I think they would take an edge rusher, maybe Josh. You might be able to help me with this, Queasy. Uche from Michigan, Josh Uche, UCHE. Anyway, defensive end, edge rusher out of Michigan. Are you a Michigan guy? You're supposed to know.
Go Blue.
You gotta say it like a Yankee.
Huge.
Go Blue.
Fantasy, so like I said, Austin Eckler, he's got a ton of high upside. He could be really a sneaky guy to get. I still don't think he's going to be top 10. I'd put him somewhere in the top 15, so 10 to 15 range. So I don't have him with a really high ceiling. Really depends on the workload they get and what else they do at running back. But assuming they don't get any, I guess he could get a lot of workload, which would put him up. Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, I like both of them. Again, not top 10 guys, but they could be depending on what quarterback they get. If they do get that Justin Herbert from Oregon, I really like his big arm, and I like him fitting in that system. And because they're still going to be pretty bad, they'll be throwing quite a bit to try to get back in games. So that would help Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. And I like Keenan Allen. I mean, he's kind of burned me in the past personally, but top 15 for sure, somewhere in there. Hunter Henry again, if he comes back to his old self and he's not injured, top 5. IDP options you'd have there, they've got 2 really good ones, and Derwin James, the safety spot, he's always very good. And then defensive end Melvin Ingram, also very good. He had 7 sacks last year, which is pretty good. That's about all I got with the Chargers. Lackluster team, 5 wins, just not a whole lot you really want to say about them. They got a lot of work to do, and hopefully they do that in the draft because they didn't make a ton of off-season moves, free agent-wise. What y'all got? Y'all got something about those Chargers?
I'm gonna keep this quick and short, I guess, in a sense. What do you think their record's gonna be next year?
And I don't know. I'd put them at. It's so tough to say without knowing who their quarterback's gonna be. They've got so many question marks. I'll put them at 6 wins, 6-10. That's one better. It's one better than what they had. 6-10,
I guess.
That was all I got, man. I'm not gonna hold you up.
I really like Austin Eckler, and I know whenever he was the lone back for the Chargers last season, he was keeping up in as far as fantasy goes with Dalvin Cook and Christian McCaffrey. With a rookie quarterback, if that's the route they decide to go and they don't really trade for anybody or try to pick up anybody in free agency, then I think that he'll be getting a lot of dump-off passes, and he's very impressive once he gets that ball in his hand and he takes the edge. But I think he would be a very sneaky pickup.
Yeah. I think he'll be available. You brought up you're sitting there at the 4th round, and running backs are up there and who's there and whatever. He'll probably be there. I think it would be a reach if he goes first 3 rounds, though.
Oh, yeah.
If he does, somebody's reaching and they really like him. I do like their offensive line that they've been trying to put together with Trey Turner and Balaga. Balaga's really good from Green Bay, so
yeah.
We'll see. Like I said, they're not a team that really really fell apart. They just fell apart.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. I like the Chargers. I like their core in a sense. But I really do. I think if they figure out exactly what the problem is, they could make a huge jump in a certain direction. So I think that once they centralize the problem, they can make a huge change.
Yeah, and I think what you see with a lot of these teams now is they don't have a quarterback in the wings waiting. Like you hardly ever have that Patrick Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers situation in those two franchises where you actually have to move on from a quarterback that's playing really well or is a historic franchise guy because you've got such a good quarterback in the waiting and you got to get him going. They definitely didn't have that. So that's all I got, boys. That's all I got.
We shall see. I think there's a lot of offensive firepower here. There's a lot of potential, and I think they can improve more than you gave them credit for. But it'll take a lot to turn this team around.
Yeah. I mean, I think they have the talent, especially what they brought in to maybe go like 9 wins, honestly. But I'm not going to say they're going to win 9 wins. I don't even know who they've got at quarterback starting, you know? So as of what I see right now, nah.
It's going to be Tyrod Taylor right now. Tyrod.
Right. And yeah, that's my bad for not even mentioning that. They did decide not to go with a big name in this free agency and stick with Tyrod. And he is good. He's good enough to get some wins, but
he is.
I don't know. I'd almost still if they get that quarterback first round, if they get Herbert or Jordan Love, I pretty much want to just throw him out there because your expectations are already low.
Exactly.
Get him the reps. Get him the experience now. They've got some receivers to throw to.
Exactly.
Yeah. Andrew, you're not as drunk as you usually are.
Nah. Beer shots. Sorry, guys. I'll restock whenever everybody's not deadly outside.
Yeah, we didn't even mention that we're all in quarantine now.
Yeah.
It's the end of the world, so you might as well stop in and watch the 3-point conversion.
Might as well listen, watch, whatever you got to do.
Listen, watch, but always go for 3.
Miak.
Miak.
All right, guys. Subscribe, like, listen, share. Do us a favor. But like Jeremy said, tune in 3-point conversion. We'll be here while you're sitting on your couch, drinking beer, wishing football were here.
Yep. At least you can hear about football here, so tune in, you know.
We'll tell you about it.
Exactly.
Shoot us questions, too. We'll answer the questions.
Yeah. Well, everybody, thanks for tuning in. And, guys, thanks for doing your research and giving us that thorough evaluation of your teams.
No doubt.
And, as always, go for 3.
Go for 3.
Jason Witten.
Make sure to follow the 3-point conversion host on Twitter.
Blue at Rastalion1131, Jeremy at Checkerboard J, Andrew at Jedi Quarterback.